Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Bork. In today's video we'll be doing the August clan battle prep, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel so much. And the first team we're going to be looking at is the double archer comp. This has been seeing relevancy because of Summer Kokoro essentially providing some heals for the team. Just note that you can run this with Shuri, but usually you run this with Erisa, mostly because you don't want to ruin your June Saren comps. But obviously these two comps are very hard to pull off because you need someone like June, and you also need someone like Erisa. So June's Saren comp is going to be easier to pull off this CB though, because June is the event unit, and I think a couple people were able to get 3-star June, so congratulations on that. And then Hyori is also going to be the next sort of team that you can run. Just note that this is usually a lap 1 team with high damage capabilities, but you might want to opt something for double archer if you have the ability to run it. And then you have like the classic Ilya teams. This is the one that everyone's been running, I think, mostly because Ilya can take in the front, but just note this is probably one of the most RNG teams in the entire CV, because Ilya can crit herself and you can essentially use 200 to 300k damage because of her just critting herself. It just happens. And then we're probably gonna have the Tomo Tama teams that you're gonna be seeing. I'm not sure if we're gonna be running it specifically with Summer Tamaki. Let's just believe that Eriko is gonna be Tomo. When it comes to this team, it's easily usable because we have Summer Kokoro who can provide some heals. You have Makoto and Kaori who deals massive amounts of damage, and of course you'll have Tomo in the back as well. But just feel free to flex whichever unit that you want for the Tomo Tama unit. And then also when it comes to the last team, which is going to be the Ayane team, this has been seeing a lot of play, not specifically with these characters, maybe like Makoto, Kaori, and Ayane. You could probably replace Hyori and Mitsuki in some ways. Ayane has been a key unit mostly because she can provide like those defense breaks and stuff. And I do have her at the 4-star range, and I recommend her being sort of in this range. This Pukichi Pummel, it's been really nice because it can essentially immobilize the enemy. Not to mention she does have a physical defense breaks with her Pukuchi Hurricane. So not the greatest thing. She's sort of like a Shinobu Light with her defense breaks. But let's go ahead and cover the different bosses. So we have Wyvern, Lele, Orc Leader, Dark Unicorn, and then Gluttonous Warcraft. If you're wondering where I'm getting this information, you can see it right here on Maho Maho Insight. Now, when it comes to this website in particular, I like it because it shows me all the different stat breakdowns for the characters and some of their capabilities in one nice web page. Now, when it comes to Wyvern, I'm pretty sure most people have a handle on this boss. You can run something from Double Archer to Hyori comp. Usually the key here with Wyvern is you don't want to use any key teams that you'll be using later. Wyvern is Wyvern. We know what to do there. Now, when it comes to Lele, it's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be a new boss. Just note that Lele is fairly similar to Griffin in some ways, where it's all magical damage. And the thing to note is that it is going to have like the same physical defense and magical defense. So, ideally you can run something that's not June Saren super meta. And can you run something like, maybe the Hyori comp or double archer comp, whichever one that you want to run. This is the one that I ran last time because I didn't have Erisa. And like I said, Erisa is replaceable with Suzuna, but then you end up hurting your June Saren comps. And then the next thing is going to be the Orc Leader, probably one of the most troublesome bosses that we've ever had. And personally speaking, you do want to run June for this boss because you can cancel out the stuns with June's UB if you time it appropriately. You can also technically use the Tomo Tama team in case you want to do that, but personally speaking, I think we're probably going to be saving that for another round. I'm not sure where Tomo is actually going to be useful for, but it's going to be very interesting fighting this Orc Leader with the upgraded units. You might be able to pull off something where you run Kaori and Makoto and Summer Kokoro against the Orc Leader, mostly because we have Summer Kokoro who can actually heal, right? And this is probably only going to be for lap 1, but moving on to lap 2, things are going to be very different. And then we have the Dark Unicorn right here. This is probably one of the more intriguing bosses because it's going to have a lower magical defense, so you do have the opportunity to run the Ilya teams on this boss in particular in case you want to. It's only 220 physical defense, so it's not that much higher, but it's definitely something to look into because Ilya teams or magical teams are still going to hold a lot of relevancy for this round, and I foresee this one being taken down by a lot of Ilya teams. Lastly, we have Gluttonous Warcraft, who's pretty interesting as well. So he's technically the only boss that we haven't faced. I mean, we haven't faced Lele before, right? But I'm not really worried about this boss. This is probably going to be an easy takedown for most folks because it's just magical damage. Now, when it comes to Gluttonous Warcraft, again, he's going to be having some less magic magical defense and more physical defense. So I'm not sure what team to essentially run against this dude. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is an Ilia team, but who really knows? Because weird targeting abilities where he can hit people in the back, hit people in the front. He can reduce their skill values slightly and increase their own. So he's just going to be a fairly interesting boss, and it is not resistant to the effects of paralysis, stun, restraint, and slow and movement speed. So since this boss is not immune to stuns, then you might want to look at running someone like Ayane. That's just probably going to be a thing that pops up because of that key word right there. If you look at the other bosses, you don't see the text where it says not resistant to paralysis, stun, and restraint and slow. All right, you can see all of these guys are essentially not talking about any stun and paralysis. So you're probably going to be seeing Ayane being used on this boss in particular. I'm curious what this comp is going to be looking like, but for the most part, it's going to be really difficult to tell whether we can take this guy down easily, if he's going to be easier than Tauros. But personally speaking, he has really low magical defense. So it's almost like you don't want to use Ayane because with such little magical defense, it's just so tempting to just run the Ilia teams. But we do have like the Dark Unicorn boss who does technically have less magical defense. So you could run the Ilia teams on this boss instead. So definitely going to be a flip of a coin, whichever Ilia team that you want to run, whether it's going to be on Dark Unicorn or Gluttonous Warcraft. But personally speaking, I think it's going to be a very interesting CB this round because a lot of these bosses, they're going to be old comers, but then there's going to be newcomers with Lele and Gluttonous Warcraft. So those are my thoughts initially. Those are the units that I'm currently looking at. Let's go ahead and jump into some PvP and just cover a few things. Honestly speaking, when it comes to the Gluttonous Warcraft, I'm not too worried about it compared to like the Tauros boss or the later bosses we've had, mostly because he's all damage and it doesn't look like he's going to be providing like debuffs that I can tell. The only thing that I'm worried about is that he can attack people technically in the back without restraint. So maybe you don't have people in the back who can pretty much too squishy. So for example, maybe you don't run Shiori or any of the archers in the back when it comes to the Gluttonous Warcraft dude. I'm not surprised if anything sort of goes haywire with this EB, but it being on a weekend, like I keep saying, like Saturday and Sunday is going to be prime time for everyone. We're definitely going to be seeing a lot more participation than usual because usually on the last 2 days of CB, everyone's sleeping or not participating, or essentially they're just trying to make things done as fast as possible. So as we can see here, this is going to be arena fight, not too surprising there. This was the stall team, and of course like the Ilia teams are really good at taking out the stall teams. That's essentially what they're built for. But I'm really excited for Halloween Shinobu popping up and essentially wrecking most of the Ilia comps, and we're going to see a lot of fluctuation in arena. But personally, if you're asking, I'm not going to be pulling for Halloween Shinobu. Even though Halloween Shinobu is going to be a limited unit, it's just not my thing to pull units for arena specifically. Let's go ahead and refresh this and see what we can fight. I don't know if we can beat this team, but we'll definitely try. All right, we're going to be running this Ninon team and then this Magic team in the back. Personally speaking, I'm just happy to have a CB on the weekend so I can spend a little bit more time dealing some damage at certain areas. But I think the part that's really going to be interesting is that this upcoming CB on Wednesday, we're going to have a difficult time sort of predicting like the lap 2 bosses because Tomo and Tama are going to be really good, Summer Tamaki specifically, and not to mention the CN sheets that we used to use are no longer going to be relevant. I'm talking about like these historical archives. We don't have Khan anymore, so we're probably not going to be using most of those teams. I think that's like one of the biggest things that's going to make this clan battle much more different because a lot of the teams are essentially not going to be available for folks. But we did get that key text with Gluttonous Warcraft where essentially he's saying I am not immune to paralysis and stun. So since he's going to be very susceptible to Ayane, Ayane is definitely going to be one of the key units for this clan battle, and I'm sure a lot of like the folks have already figured that out. If you haven't, well, hopefully Ayane helps you out this clan battle, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be rushing to make her either 3-star or maybe even 4-star in case you're feeling it. And just note that Ayane is not really affected whether she's going to be at 4-star or 3-star. Just don't make Ayane 5-star because if you make her a 5-star, then essentially you're going to be affecting her UB times, and you just don't want that. All right, I'm curious to see like what are all the different teams because we've never had a super relevant Ayane team in quite some time. We technically have it with the Cyclops boss, you know, Ayane being able to block the rock, but with Ayane being able to counter like the last boss, you know, the equivalent to a Leo, the equivalent to a Taurus. We've never had that, and Ayane is technically off meta, very niche in her usage. So I'm excited to see how she fits in with like this newest clan battle, and I'm really curious to see how everyone's going to be performing on this one. I just want to know where Ayane is going to be used for everyone, because she's just going to be so hot this clan battle. Wondering if she's going to be the top performer in this CB, and I bet she really will help you out just because of that key text like we keep talking about. The boss is not immune to paralysis and stun. But yeah, this is going to be it for today's clan battle prep video, August and all that stuff. But if you made it this far, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 27,500 subs, we're doing a giveaway. Good luck on the clan battles that's going to be occurring. Good luck if you're summoning for Tomo. I can't wait to see these Ayane teams. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day, and hopefully I see you in the next one.